Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I'm Taylor Gonzalez, and my guest today voices Kingpin in Marvel Rivals. I am so excited to be joined by Chris Okawa. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Taylor. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for being here today. I am so excited to talk all things Kingpin with you. And what an exciting character to join Marvel Rivals with such a badass Kingpin, uh, such a cool trailer reveal. How does it feel to finally be able to, just put it out into the world that you're Kingpin?
It's surreal. It really is surreal, especially considering just how prestigious the cast is and how much buzz the game has and how well loved the game is. It really is. It was the biggest secret, I've had in my career.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I am terrible at that kind of stuff. As soon as I find out something cool, like about like an interview I'm doing or something like that, I always want to tell people. But how is it for you, like holding on to a secret and not, being able to tell the world?
It is really challenging. I try and kind of fix it and forget it as quickly as possible. I think sometimes um when people look at actors that have like kind of like goldfish style memories, I think my long-term memory is pretty good, but my short-term is definitely pretty goldfish because yeah, just out of like self-preservation, because you'll work on something and be so excited about it. This had a shorter runway from recording to launch, but sometimes I have some games that are coming out this year that we've been working on for years, and it's just so much easier to to kind of fix it and forget it, be super present, and then be like, all right, I'm gonna go check on my cat's food and make sure she has clean water,
Oh my gosh.
stuff
Yeah.
like that to kind of keep it moving.
Were you already a fan of Marvel Rivals before you got the role of Kingpin?
I was super aware of it, and I used to play Overwatch quite a bit. I was like a Zenyatta main, um, and I hadn't downloaded it and played it yet. But I was super aware of it. I knew it was kind of this like kingmaker game, and that these people, these amazing actors that were already so decorated, many of them already existent in the Marvel, animated universe, would join the game and gain this whole new following. Some of them primarily animation actors, getting these huge, the X-Men 97 folks getting this huge added gaming audience, and so and also too, it was largely an LA. It's an LA only property, so they want people that are going to record in LA, and I live in Orlando, and so I wasn't auditioning even for. I would see the auditions come across my table and be like, "Oh, that'd be so cool. All right, we'll put it in the archive folder." But it was something that wasn't even, in my on my radar of something that I could be a part of for many years. Because I wasn't, daring enough to be like, you know what? What if I did this and I flew out to LA and worked on this and yeah, and then that kind of changed things.
Oh my gosh. So when you were auditioning, did you know you were specifically auditioning for Kingpin?
Yes, this they were very generous with the information that
Mhm.
they gave us. The game casts under a code name, even still, even after as long as it's been out, you're aware that it's a team shooter, and you but yeah, I got this beautiful piece of art. It wasn't. I don't think it was game specific art, but it was a panel that was really, it let us know what era of Kingpin, we're dealing with, references to Born Again, the performance from Mr. D'Onofrio. So we got a ton of really juicy material to go off of for this audition, which is not super common.
Oh, that is awesome. So you auditioned for the role, you get the role, and then you did fly all the way out here to LA to record your lines?
Yeah,
Oh, that is
yeah.
so cool.
Well, and I it's something I've started doing a couple years ago. I Since I'm in, Orlando, I'm technically a remote talent. Many LA studios have been super generous with me and made exceptions and worked with me remotely.
Mhm.
There are projects that I start out in LA and then I pick up in out here in Orlando. But yeah, it really opens a lot of doors after the pandemic and stuff started, going back toward LA that used to record remote temporarily during the pandemic.
Mhm.
Um, it really opened, kept those doors open for me. I got to work on Starfield, Warcraft, Diablo from going to LA. A handful of stuff that's coming out this year that's really exciting and high profile. And so I kind of threw this one on the docket and was like, you know what, I'm going to invest in this. I really believe in this game. I love this character. I think that Vincent D'Onofrio is just such a generationally, a beacon for actors. He's an actor's actor, and I took a swing, and the rest is history.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Well, you mentioned Vincent D'Onofrio and his incredible performance. If you look at the MCU, there's like a handful of characters and actors that it's like, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. I can't imagine anyone else. You have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, perfect casting, and then you have Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, and it's just like, man, I don't think they could have cast a better actor to portray him, and it's so cool to see him back in the Daredevil Born Again series on Disney Plus. We're just like 2 or 3 days away from season two, which I am very
Yes.
excited about. Did you go and watch any of his performances to help you get ready for this portrayal of Kingpin?
So, uh, the first that when we were doing the trailer stuff, I hadn't watched too much D'Onofrio because I didn't want to do a just flat one for one impression of him. After that initial record, then I started hitting the comics a lot harder, and I watched all the way through Born Again. I'm working my way through the first Netflix season. I'm definitely gonna be on Born Again season two day one watching. Um because I needed to have enough. I felt I needed to have enough runway of my version of Kingpin underneath me before I started then, kind of sitting at the feet of all of the other Kingpins that have come before in animation video games. And of course, Mr. D'Onofrio. Yeah.
No, yeah, I love that, and it's so cool to see how you came up with your. How did you come up with your specific take of Kingpin's voice? Did you practice a lot? Did you like ask friends for input? How did you come up with that?
Yeah, well, and because it's so secretive, you can't necessarily, crowdsource
Yeah.
friend input. But um, the so we had the trailer. I think it's the trailer for Born Again season one was the reference. And so it has, a city needs to die before it can be reborn, right? So he has this like a kind of whispery quality to him, right? Which is amazing. It's like this furnace that's kind of like, rolling over. And uh it's very cinematic and it's very very television, right? In a very good way. I think that these Born Again series are like, it feels like watching a Nolan universe, revived, because which makes sense, right? Because Frank Miller did Dark Knight and Frank Miller did Born Again, so it's going to have that tonal through line. um but we're dealing in video game, and we're dealing with a loud video game, in a good
Yeah.
way. Yeah, it's like a beautiful fireworks show. It's a jubilee attack, to the senses. um and so it had to be a little bit more projected. It had to have a little bit more body to it, have a little bit more, and it could afford to be a little bit more animated, right? Because it's not on camera, but it has some qualities. So uh I took the kind of the growly qualities, certainly his cadence, certainly his embouchure, the shape of his mouth, it all lives here in this kind of square. That's all very much borrowed or attribute to his performance. Uh, I wanted, with Kingpin 2, when we're thinking about the voice of it, and if I look at the lineage of other Kingpins, right, like Roscoe Lee Brown, or of course, Travis Willingham, uh, there's different Kingpins will play the bigness and the resonance of the voice. Other Kingpins will play the archetype of this kind of miserly businessman angle of the character. But then I also like how Mr. D'Onofrio plays the wounded quality and the haunted quality of the character. So I had a little bit of that, I'm your mayor, right? But he has this kind of snarl to how he, and a bitterness and a woundedness to how he produces in my version. And I was kind of use this image of this kind of tiger that's like pacing back and forth at the cage, because D'Onofrio does such a wonderful job of playing his ever-present danger, right? If we look at panels where he can go from standing at a desk to then just straight up choking someone or throwing them out a window, right? He can strike like a cobra, but I feel like mine is a bit more like a tiger at the cage. So all I know, I've just been blabbing on, but I think about it a lot. All of that stirred in a pot and simmered down into what we have is that you hear the corner of in the trailer, and there's certainly more to come.
No, and I think you did it perfectly. You nailed it. It's so cool.
Thank you.
I've watched that trailer, I don't even know, like dozens of times. I just can't get over how cool it is and
It's so
how
good. It's so well done.
so well done. So you mentioned Daredevil Born Again. You mentioned
Yeah.
some comics. What was some of the other research you did? Did you go to like your local comic book store and ask like, hey, what would you recommend to get into Kingpin? Or how did you, go about researching this?
When it was still unannounced, I was taken to the internet and saying, like what are some like prominent Kingpin placements. I wanted to do all eras. So of course, Amazing Spider-Man 50 through 54, where we first see the disintegration cane. You see in the character art this Kingpin does have a cane. We'll leave it at that for now. But people talked about the quintessential, like to know Kingpin, you also have to really know Daredevil and who he is,
Yeah.
right? Because this is, his primary, kind of arch. Uh, Even though, we kind of first see him, really established with Spider-Man. Um, so I bookended my research with what I would say are my two pillars are first Born Again. That was just couldn't read that quick enough, and what a beautiful ride, like a was it like 4 or 5 issues Frank Miller achieved so much. And I like that I did this order: Born Again, and then Man Without Fear, which is again
Oh,
Frank
nice.
Miller, but the early years of the origin of Daredevil and the origin of Kingpin. They're not really throwing crazy blows in that one compared to Born Again.
Mhm.
Um, and then I asked the question, well, who is Kingpin to his different, heroes, right? Um, Frank Castle, the Punisher. Who is he to the Punisher? He's very, very different in a Punisher issue than he is in a Spider-Man issue than he is to Daredevil. And I think it's so important when you have a villain that touches on so many different storylines within Marvel that is distinct and that the relationship is really clear. And we have who's Kingpin to Black Cat. In many universes he killed her father. It's a deeply personal and permanent connection that people share. Terrible connection. And so to be versatile and to be able to speak to each of those different heroes as he does, we'll say in this season. So I got the anchor, and then I studied each of the different through lines, the different storylines.
Ah, so cool. So Kingpin often finds himself as mayor in different storylines. If
Mhm.
you found yourself as mayor for 1 week of your city, what's one thing that you would want to enact?
Oh, I would. Oh, this is hard because there's like fun things that you always say to your fellow, locals, and then there's something that feels like profound.
Yeah.
Um, what's one thing I would enact? I think that I would. Oh, this is I live in Orlando. We're such like a kid-centric town. I would like do something for the school kids,
Mhm.
school age kids. Maybe something that was like a really exceptional free school lunch program for kids here, to just really like we have these we're part of kids like best moments at these parks and their holidays and celebrations, but how could we make like every day have like a little bit more sparkle and be more accessible, broadly to kids. So yeah, I would say that I think that Orlando owes so much to kids, and I think that we should make sure all kids, are taken care of equally.
Oh, that's great. That's really sweet. I was just thinking free parking for my
I
city.
was well initially I was thinking, I was like, let's soup up the airport. That'd make it look really fun. Because that's something like you fly into Orlando and you're like, oh, I want it to be like this super theme park airport. I would, if I was doing a fun one, I would do theme park airport.
No, yeah, that makes sense because the airport is the first thing people see when they travel,
Right.
to go to Disney
Right.
World or
And we have this like
Universal.
80s carpet and stuff. It's like, come on, let's have a theme park airport. Let's put some shag carpet down or something crazy.
Oh my gosh. Well, of the dialogue for Kingpin that we have heard so far, did you have a favorite line to record?
The yeah, we originally that speech was about maybe twice as long. It was a
Mm,
bit longer. But it just didn't cut in with it. We knew that even when we were recording it. And we were talking on the call, and um everyone was like, we are voicing and making clear that we love this long version. We are also noting that once animation gets dropped in here, because we were working off storyboard,
yeah.
it's very likely to get shortened. So let's do the short version, and ideally we keep the long, and the shorts what went into the trailer. Um, the our so it says our city is under siege, and part of the line that was cut was from a dimension beyond our own. And that's like such a, oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because it's like, imagine you're a regular person in New York City.
Yeah.
I lived in New York City for a number of years. You're in New York City and your mayor's in Times Square and he's like, we're under siege. Oh, that's very not good.
Yeah.
From another dimension. Oh, like what? Like I sell newspapers. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I make fine leather goods.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Hmm.
It had this wonderful menace to it, and I understand why it had to get cut, but I loved that line.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's really cool. Yeah, I think about that often when I'm watching superhero movies, and I'm like, what do the average people, like the average citizens, think of these aliens or these robots that are always attacking
Right.
the city?
I like like this TikTok trend where it was like when you realize why Gotham rents are so low, and it's someone peering through the blinds, and you hear just like Batman fighting the Joker and stuff exploding, and they're
Oh
like,
my
it's just
gosh.
this tired regular person looking through the blinds. So yeah, no, I think about these people all the time when I
Yeah.
see superhero media.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, Kingpin has some iconic looks throughout the years in comic books and animation and other video games. If one day Kingpin were to join the roster of playable characters in Marvel Rivals and he were to get some skins in the game,
Mm.
is there a specific look that you would like to see for him?
Um, I would like to see kind of like an inverted from the white knight suit kind of look, like a all black, like a black dress shirt with black tie. I think is like kind of an unconventional but kind of cool look.
Mhm.
Maybe his hands are always they're so important, right? Mr. D'Onofrio is very, very keen on that, and the show is totally in step with his vision in that way, and largely in the comics, his
Mhm.
hands and whether there's blood on them, and how his emotion manifests in the hands, and as the years go on, his hands get a bit more nervous, like in Born Again, um, and unsteady. Uh, his hands are so rarely covered. But I think it'd be cool to play with, kind of like a driving glove with the knuckles showing kind of thing. I know it's not canonical, but yeah, like the kind of an inverted look with driving glove, I think would go pretty hard, because it also would be the closest he comes to wearing a costume, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I think what's challenging with Kingpin in general is that he, as far as dressing him up, right, and
Mhm.
his different if we were to go with seasonal skins and stuff like in the game, is that he carries so much dignity and menace, right? And it would be hard to the team could definitely do it, but I imagine it'd be a hard task to like, well, what does he wear to Mardi Gras? Like what does he wear at Christmas time? Is there
Mhm.
is there a Santa Kingpin? I don't know. How much can we stretch this character before he loses that edge?
Yeah.
But yeah, what are some past Kingpin looks that you could imagine
Oh,
as this guy?
I was thinking the Hawaiian shirt look. I feel
Yes.
like
Oh yeah, of
that
course.
one
Oh,
for the summertime, because they have summertime skins, we could just
yes.
have him with his
No
Hawaiian
brainer.
shirt.
Yes.
Uh, I was because I love the Halloween skins like the Jeff-O-Lantern,
Uh-huh.
and in the new season pass, there's a Penny Parker skin where it's like a scarecrow. I just think
Oh,
there's got
nice.
to be something. I just don't know how they would pull it off because, like you're saying, he has so much dignity and so much like. Would he, be wearing the same kinds of skins as like Deadpool and Jeff? I don't think so, but it'd be
Right.
fun to see what they could come up with.
I know that they could, and that the art team is so brilliant. And yeah, I'm really curious. I'll be thinking about it. I'll be pondering it.
Yeah, I'll be wondering what
Definitely the Hawaiian
they could
shirt
do.
though. I don't know why
Yeah.
that
No, and
escaped me.
it's
Yeah.
perfect for summertime. The summertime, everyone else has
Yes.
their swimsuits. He would wear his
Yeah.
Hawaiian shirt, maybe a lei.
And
It'd be pretty
yeah,
fun.
maybe even flip flops. Running around. That would be way
Oh my
fun.
gosh, I would love to see
Totally.
that.
Totally.
So the other day on Instagram, you posted a picture of you wearing a Kingpin shirt. So I was
Yeah.
curious, do you
Yesterday.
have any other Kingpin merch, like any Funko Pops or any collectibles or figures or anything?
So I have there's this company called 100 Soft that does chibi art. The outfit I was wearing yesterday, it was Hot Topic has this beautiful line of Kingpin stuff right now for Born Again. So I have they have a Kingpin silhouette red shirt that's kind of like Art Deco that might be like a piece of art that would hang at Fisk Tower. I have that. I have the 100 Soft Kingpin white suit keychain that
Oh
or
yeah.
figure, and I made it into the keychain. I visited 100 Soft because yesterday I went to my first con ever, right, as a
Oh,
attendee, which
oh,
was MegaCon here in Orlando. It's the second biggest in the country, and 100 Soft was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have the keychain, and they had this really cool Kingpin and Daredevil Born Again season 2 shirt that was officially licensed. So I
oh.
got that. And then we're at the counter, and the cashier's like, wow, you really like Kingpin, and I was like, I'm one of the newer fans because I'm actually a voice actor. I voiced Kingpin in Rivals, and the cashier's like, and and which was pretty fun. And we walk out, and then someone runs after us. And I think she is maybe one of the artists, is or at least is like one of the higher ups at 100 Soft, at least that was there. And she stopped us and she said, "I know that you're not Kingpin and Echo, but this is what we have." And she gave me this beautiful little Kingpin, the Wounded Kingpin
Oh.
eye patch chibi pin.
Mhm.
So I gifted that, and we got to talk to her. Her name was Irene. She was so lovely.
Oh.
So now I have that, and I kind of had to restrain myself because I would have just like gone crazy and gotten figures and all these things. I was like, you know what? Let's wait for it to come out
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
make sure it all makes the morning news. Then we can actually start investing. But that's my collection thus far.
Oh, that is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, it's been fun.
So if Kingpin was already taken, but they still wanted to have you voice the character in Marvel Rivals, is there
Hmm,
someone, it could be someone that's already voiced or someone that's not in the game yet. Is there someone else in the Marvel universe that you would like to voice?
that's a good question. Is it Beast from X-Men?
Ooh, that'd be
Be really
nice.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beast would be fun. Um, let me think. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what comes to mind. I'm kind of like I like um kind of off-kilter characters. I like off-kilter characters. I like demographics of characters that may not traditionally be in the limelight.
Mhm.
Nightcrawler would be
Oh.
super fun to
Mhm.
do as well. Um Yeah, those are the two that come to mind. Yeah, I guess they're both like deep blue guys. Yeah.
All right, so any of the blue men, that'd be really
Yeah,
fun.
if they're dark blue, then I probably want to do it.
And are there any characters that you would like to see join the game that aren't in the game yet? Maybe someone even that would interact with Kingpin. I'm thinking someone maybe like Bullseye or Jessica
Oh,
Jones, or there's so many
yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah, he has so many enemies. He makes enemies wherever he goes. Oh, definitely Jessica Jones for real would be so cool. I think her move set would be so like unconventional and interesting. I definitely Bullseye. Like they're bread and butter, they're peanut butter and jelly, those two. And Bullseye would be so cool. Like I wonder um how they would play with his accuracy, right,
Yeah,
in the attacks. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. um I think narratively, to have him get to interact with Vanessa, or
oh yeah.
like and have some sort of at least like an audio, kind of story there,
Mhm.
because she's such a central piece to understanding him and understanding uh why he does what he does. And but I think a lot of people want Cyclops in there. I am one of them. I think he'd be really, really great. There's so many exciting folks. I would like to see Luke Cage in there. I think that
Yeah.
Luke Cage would be really exciting to watch as well.
Oh my gosh, I know. Every time I like hear a character that I didn't think of, I'm like, oh yeah, Luke Cage would be awesome. I think of the Sinister Six, Carnage,
Hmm.
Mystique, just because I don't even know how
Yes.
they would do Mystique because she would, I don't know, her ult would be just like transforming, kind of like Loki's
Right.
ult. You mentioned Bullseye's accuracy, and when you were saying that, I was like, oh, his ult could be he only gets headshots for like 30 seconds or something like
Oh, that
that.
would be so cool.
Oh
Yes, yes,
my
it's like
God.
yeah, like
Yeah.
everyone gets brought down to like 20%. That'd be really, really cool.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, Chris, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to join me. I really appreciate you being here. If people want to
My
follow
pleasure.
you and keep up with all your other, announcements and projects, where would be a good place for people to come and follow you?
Yeah. I'm on Instagram and sometimes on Twitter for bigger stuff, but definitely Instagram. Chris, the letter O as in O, cow as in the animal, UH as in so Chris Okawa, and yeah, and on both of those platforms.
Well, thank you again so much for joining me, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay.